You are entering the world of Mastershamanpalichee with Faliti Healing. We discuss here the universe, enlightened shamanism, and our world, informing the misinformed. Warmest Blessings, this is Mastershamanpalichee, and welcome to the universe, enlightened shamanism, and our world podcast. Today, I'm going to talk about why my way of shamanism doesn't agree with modern education. First question that I have been asked is, why is the average school day structured like a corporate job? In my opinion, and the shamanic aspect, I believe that it's wasting the kid's life away and basically teaching white noise. It's putting in extra subjects into the school day that isn't truly needed to either help them survive or put food on the table, especially if office jobs were to ever be obsolete. If the currency right now, which is the digital currency that may be coming out pretty soon here, and also from a shamanic lens, my guides do believe that this new currency could be rolling in fairly soon. So when that happens, this school system, how they're teaching the students nowadays, may not be working with the digital currency system, meaning that the subjects that they are teaching right now just basically to fill up the day so that parents can go to work on their 9 to 5 or 6 to 2 and children can be busy as they supposedly learn. I also believe that instead of doing these subjects at school, these type of subjects that don't truly matter, they can come back home, maybe go 4 hours a day to a school setting and then learn the major subjects needed to be more intelligent. When they come back home, they can be with parents or grandparents. The school day, the work day would change. So it's not 9 to 5 anymore. They can spend time with their parents or grandparents and be taught what their parents or grandparents deem valuable for them in their life so that they can pass down their lineage values, family values, virtues, and whatever beliefs that they want their children to learn. Now, also part of that day could be gaining more intuition, gaining more intelligence upon the child's gifted abilities. So this could be something that parents and grandparents can help them build. They don't have to know anything. They just have to allow the child to do what the child would need to do in order to build their intuition. And maybe this means going to another professional or expert to help the children become more intelligent in using their gifted abilities. That could change the scheduling from parents or grandparents and how they will help with the children. And some, it may not work out because maybe they don't have parents that have this kind of schedule, or they don't have grandparents at all. And that could be a totally different schedule. But at the same time, they can still fill up the school day with 4 hours, and then the parents may need to find another resource for the children to become intelligent in their gifted abilities going forward. As I see spiritually, gifted abilities is going to be one of the key things that children need to hone in on. This may also help build the parents and grandparents' relationship with children so that the children are not always stuck on their cell phones or whatever their devices are. Even today, you can't get the child off a device. This can help the children build relationships with an actual human being and their own grandparents or parents, and find some kind of build trust with a human being so they don't go to an AI, for example, to talk about their relationships later on. This is why the average school day is structured like a corporate job, so that the children will be ready to work 9 to 5. Now, the second question, what are the good and bad sides of the schooling system? In a spiritual aspect, this is seen as an indoctrination into a system that's founded on positive principles, but practiced on negative, intentional lies. And propagandists helps to escalate, this by such activities expressed in the most currently released Epstein Files, and a history that has been distorted, especially in the textbooks, that you or I and kids nowadays are still reading. The good side is that they've come off, back in the days, come off with a very good intention, trying to teach the children so that the children can learn more and become smarter human beings. But the bad side is that they're teaching the children to become good workers, not good entrepreneurs or owners of their own business. So in school is teaching this. At the same time, the big root cause and trauma put on the children who are growing up to be adults is that they are seeing whatever is out there in social media. So social media tells children that it's okay to see, sex scenes on the TVs or movies. It's okay to drink alcohol. It's okay to smoke, right? And all this has been glorified by the media. And then go to school the next day, and all of a sudden they're taught to be good children, and they're not really even taught moral character. I believe that if they're going to be a good human being or a good Samaritan, they can practice what they preach. So going to school isn't just about the subject of study, but it should also be about character, values, and virtue, meaning that the children could get that from parents and grandparents if the parents and grandparents did get instilled by this virtue and value and moral character teaching, right? But if they weren't, then they may need to go to an outside resource to help with that. At the same time, schools should be focused on helping children become more intelligent and smarter and not dumber. As in, if they see propaganda, they know right away, oh, it's propaganda, this is what it is, right? And not just grow up to be adults and then throwing everything that they learned away, except maybe whatever sticks, taking that and then saying, now it's okay to do all the opposite of good moral character, of having virtue or values for family or for even friendship, things like that with parents or building relationship type of thing when they grow up, and then they will have issues in that way because it was already contradicting from the beginning. So this is one of the reasons I also think that there's dropouts due to media versus what's taught in schools, and then it's confusing the people, especially in college, or if they even get to college, it's confusing those kids as well. And that gets me to my next question. Question number 3 is, why is college a mass indoctrination program that wants kids to join clubs and be accepted into group thinking? My response to this question is, in college, indoctrination goes even further through encouragements of students to feel the need to belong, to feel the need to be the same as others through clubs or societies who carry secrets, such as sororities or fraternities. If you want to belong, it forces new members to pass certain types of obstacles. It makes it very difficult for the new member to pass. And then when they do pass, it's almost like they had to go through something traumatizing. From a spiritual perspective, these are all seen as privileged groups that has these hoops or certain activities that's basically similarly to what we've seen in the currently released Epstein Files. So it's the same thing, but just on a smaller scale. It's the same type of activities and the same idea and intention for these new members to go through these type of obstacles and hoops so that they can become either blackmailed or used against them if they were ever disloyal to that group with secrets. So in a spiritual perspective, college students or students in general, even if they are in high school and they go join a club, it makes them think that they may become more successful or more popular if they were to become a member of these groups. And that's the same thing with the places that creates movies. And this is just another game to basically make it exciting for those entering the big world. Whether indirect or direct, it's still a certain kind of ritual, very satanic type of worship. So definitely this would be a no on my list. Now, before I move on to reason number 4, I wanted to let you know that my new book, The Universal Laws of Mankind, a memoir and shamanic aspect. It is out there on Amazon for purchase. If you are a rising healer or that you've always had questions about the soul, what is the soul? What does it mean? What happens when we die? Or what happens when we're born? Questions in regards to reincarnation and things like that, go check it out. I give my backstory on how I became a shaman in that book and the different experiences and phenomena that I've been through in order to become who I am today as a shamanic master healer. So go check it out and read the reviews. There's a few first pages that you can check out for free and then make your purchase. Also, if you've been watching this far, please do me a quick favor because it's absolutely free. Like, subscribe, and click on that notification button so that this channel can grow and provide even greater content going forward. On to question number 4. Why is there so much contradiction within the education system? That is the question that came to me. Someone asked that question. I'll say this. A system that contradicts its own teachings. So basically the continuous battle of teacher to teach subjects versus the media that says the opposite about education, about being in school, being a good student, right? Because what does it mean to be a good student? You still have to have instilled in you good moral character, good values from your family that teaches you don't do this, but do that. So if you didn't have this growing up, how can you become a good student? Now, you can still become a good student to learn from others as you went on to school. And maybe there's some other kid or friend, some person that acted in good moral character and a good Samaritan. So therefore, you learn from that person if you didn't get it from home. That is very unlikely, right? We truly need in our school system to learn moral character, good values, and virtue, and live on that, basically be that. And in order for the children to have conviction to what they're actually doing in school and just not get drawn into the media if the media starts to use their propaganda against their own education system. So this goes back to what I talked about in the last question, where scenes in the movies where it's inappropriate scenes, smoking, alcohol, it's all drawn into the music, the movies, the ads. Wherever you're looking, wherever you're hearing on the radio, it's talking about how people are doing these things and then people are getting traumatized by them and these adults. So if the children hears about this, what do they think? Should I continue to get an education and better my life? Because look, these adults don't even have a better life. They're very stressed. They are concerned and have anxiety, so they're taking drugs or alcohol. So what does that make me if I continue to go to school? Do I become like them? That is a big question mark for kids. I mean, if I was a kid, I would ask the same question and answer myself. How can kids keep it together if adults can't even keep their integrity clean? It's likely that each generation goes through the same cycle. So a child grows up having to fend for themselves, and then some may think out of the box, but some may just go down the drain because it seems easier to just do that because now they see the picture at the movies and this is where they're going to be heading. They also see the working class and question themselves, how can they not drop out? How can they continue to stay? If they did not get parents, grandparents, or someone close to them that loves them and cares for them to give them that type of love, teaching of good moral character, teaching of good virtue and values inside the home or wherever they're getting it from, okay, whatever that resource may be. If they had more difficult parents and unhelpful parents, they may think for themselves, be intelligent enough and say, okay, this is my parents or these adults are not doing the right thing. Let me try to find who is doing the right thing and I want to do that. And they may have the intuition to actually tell them this and lead them to the right path. So this is where there's much contradiction within the education system because they're teaching one thing. Yes, it's a subject thing, but look at all the communication and social interactions the kids has to go through while at school. It's not strictly just the subjects that they're learning to become smarter or intelligent or be able to use something in life. It's about also communicating and then dealing with other people from other walks of life, other students that have come from different families. They are seeing this and interacting with them. And guess what? They might question themselves, do I have that type of moral character? Do I have that value? Or what should I value in my life? If they did not have helpful parents or parents who cared for them, or even grandparents, right? Now, if they did, they would question, but then they would be maybe smart enough to say, okay, that's not the right thing to do. This is the right thing to do because this is what I was taught. So that's going to be a contradiction from when you go to school, this human experience at school versus what is being taught and shown on the media. Moving on to question number 5. Is education used to keep a corrupt system running or to free the minds of young people? Spiritually speaking, I believe that education is a system built to create the working class. Basically, it's to create a class that can stay in the lower to middle class to work in companies, in the office. Big corporations are taken, quote unquote, on the currently released Epstein Files. It's for everyone going to school to be created as a working class. Basically, who aren't the 1% would be working. They don't own their own things. They have to borrow money from the banks and buy things such as homes or cars. Also working to pay off debts, keep them in this debt cycle, and to keep them in a very busy schedule so that they can't really come back home and have the energy and the passion to actually teach the kids good morals, values, or virtue. And also, they don't have the time to instill the children with their grandparents or the family values and virtues and the ancestral type of education, right? From their lineage, their ancestor roots. So these kids go on to thinking that they may be learning as they go into school. They may be getting rewarded, perhaps, right? They get this little idea about their near future. If they go do this and take these classes and go into this path at school, they will be rewarded with this kind of piece of paper that says, hey, congratulations, you've made it, with a certain score through testing. And so they go on to more indoctrination after that, right? To college, and then to maybe higher than that. And of course, out to find a job. They owe all these loans that they had to borrow in order to go to school. So they still owe debt that never goes away. And then slaving away at a job to just pay this off. This cycle is an ongoing one that keeps us humans on a hamster wheel. If we continue to take this track of going to school, being indoctrinated, thinking that working is going to be the best for us, and then getting out and then going to work for some kind of big corporation. This hamster wheel is never ending if we continue to do this until, let's say, 30, 35 years later, maybe even 40 years later, they then retire. Once the hamster decides to get off, this cycle will be over. Once you get out of this work cycle, the cycle becomes over for you. You then begin to build your own something, whatever it is that you're trying to build or create, you own. I'm not saying it's going to be easy. It is going to be hard work. If you've learned some subjects that were valuable to you in school, the major ones, like reading, writing, mathematics, things like that, and then the language that you speak, even a deeper form of that language, and inquire the knowledge of other languages, then you will be better off in creating this thing that is going to help you creating like an entrepreneurship type of business or whatever it is that you're going to do to make a living. If you honed in on your spiritual gifts during this time, this is a school that doesn't exist yet. But if you were honing your special gifted abilities for years and years, then you would be able to utilize your intuition within whatever it is that you're creating to make a living. This is why it's important to clear physical or non-physical debt in the spiritual world. If you don't clear out your debt while you're alive, you are still going to need to clear that debt when you transition over, when you pass on. And this debt gets stuck with you, the soul, in the energetic form. It gets stuck with the soul unless something spiritual is done to release this debt that the person owed to whoever it is. It could be anybody. They still may owe a non-physical or physical debt, and this may be on their backs until something is done, whether in their transition or in the spirit world. If someone here, like me, I'm a shaman, so then I would know that this person had spiritual or physical debt and that they needed to clear their debt in order to clear whatever part of their karmic cycle that needed to be cleared. So if you don't clear the debt, and this is what our society has put upon us through even education, because now we have to borrow money to go to school, right? At least if we want higher education, and that's where it's most important too, then you don't clear this debt, then the debt is with the soul, and the soul gets to go through a whole cycle too in the next life or wherever they're going. So therefore, debt, non-physical or physical, is something that you do not want to carry going forward, whether you're alive or whether you are passing on. So that is why it is important to clear physical or non-physical debt, which I have done spiritually for many clients in the past on several occasions through karma cord cutting ceremonies and or rituals that I would do for soul retrieval, certain person and their soul fragments or their soul in general. If you're looking to do this, the links are in the description below. If this is something that is meaningful to you or that you will find meaningful later on, then you can always contact me through the links in the description below. Now, the American dream is the other thing that I want to discuss because it has been a lie and proven corrupted by current releases of the Epstein Files. The truth becomes clear when something like this is released. Our society cannot keep living in these lies. It's time to let go of the old Epstein file ways and seek justice to revolutionize your path, because your path needs a revolution in order to become something different, in order to become someone as in good different, with good moral characters, with good virtue and values behind you, loyal to your ancestral roots, and that you can also move forward and teach your children the same of those ways to be a good person. Now, I'm not saying that there's always going to be good in the world, but if we can train our children in this way, then we would be somewhat a better society or better human beings in general, and care for one another, because that is what we're made up of, is human beings. So, on a positive note, I'm not saying that the education system is bad, but what I am saying is that this modern education system, including every outlet that is educating people, must change for humanity rather than degrading or going against the natural rights of human beings. The natural rights of human beings is to hone in on your spiritual gifts and abilities and to utilize your gifts and abilities for intelligence in the future, because that is what we are up against, intelligence from other than humans. So may you defend yourselves, find peace today and always, and no matter what the circumstances brings you, you will gain intelligence, survive, and hone in on your gifted abilities, because that is where our future is headed. Start to teach your children, or if you are a child or teenager, start to hone in on that and move towards your intuition and gifted abilities, because that's the future of our society, human beings. And if we don't hone in on that, it will be very hard to survive in the future, especially to know the false from the truths. Warmest blessings, and talk soon.